Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our online service here at Catch the Fire Montreal. My name is Rochelle, and I'm joining you from my couch. Today, we are going to have Dave Powder lead us in worship, and we even have a special surprise from our band. After that, we're going to have Pastor Jerry give us a little bit of an uplifting message. So stay tuned and enjoy the service, everyone.
Bring it all to peace. The storm surrounding me, let it break. At your name, still call the sea to still, the rage in me to still every wave. At your name, Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, breathe, call these lungs to live, call these lungs to sing once again. I will praise Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, 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 you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, 'cause your name is a light that the shadows can't deny. Your name cannot be overcome. Your name is alive, forever lifted high. Your name cannot be overcome. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. Oh, Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, shadows can't deny. Your name cannot be overcome. Your name is alive, forever lifted high. Your name cannot be overcome. Your name is a light that the shadows can't deny. Your name cannot be overcome. Your name is alive, forever lifted high. Your name cannot be overcome. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus. Oh, Jesus, Jesus. Oh, Jesus, Jesus. Jesus, Jesus. Jesus, Jesus. Oh, Jesus, Jesus. Oh, Jesus, Jesus. Given me freedom, you've opened my eyes to see your truth. No longer in darkness, led by the light I see in you. I stand in your promise, keeping my eyes fixed on you. Your words become my voice. Like a child I will sing of my love for you. I give you my everything. Jesus, you won the victory. I sing hallelujah. Jesus, you won it all for me. I speak into being a vision of heaven here on earth. Your rises up in me.
Okay, so we'll get started in a moment.
Starting it.
J'étais perdu, le cœur brisé. Tu m'as sauvé, je suis mise à part. Et descendant toi je renais. À l'abri dans tes bras à jamais. Mes mots ne suffisent pour te décrire. Je donne ma vie, Seigneur, pour te suivre. Et je fixe mes yeux sur tes voies. Oui, par ta grâce, je suis libre en toi. Car tu es ma liberté. Ton nom est plus haut, oui, le plus haut. Ton grand amour pour moi est infini. Oh, oh, oh. Tu es vivant en nous, nul ne peut prendre ta place. Tu es tout pour nous, ton amour nous libère. Entre les corps de la sombre nuit, ton amour illumine ma vie. Toutes les chaînes en moi sont brisées. C'est ton fils qui m'a délivré. Un jour seul on disparaîtra. Et nous pourrons te voir face à face. Je vivrai pour ta volonté. Pour ton royaume sans jamais renoncer. Car tu es ma liberté. Ton nom est plus haut, oui le plus haut. Ton grand amour pour moi est infini. Oh, oh, oh. Tu es vivant en nous, nul ne peut prendre ta place. Tu es tout pour nous, ton amour nous libère. Tu es vivant en nous, nul ne peut prendre ta place. Tu es tout pour nous, ton amour nous libère. Tu es ma liberté. Ton nom est plus haut, oui le plus haut. Ton grand amour pour moi est infini. Oh, oh, oh. Car tu es ma liberté. Ton nom est plus haut, oui le plus haut. Ton grand amour pour moi est infini. Oh, oh, oh. Tu es vivant en nous, nul ne peut prendre ta place. Tu es tout pour nous, ton amour nous libère. Tu es vivant en nous, nul ne peut prendre ta place. Tu es tout pour nous, ton amour nous libère. Oh, oh, oh.
That was so stressful. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Dave Powder and the whole band for that. I hope everyone appreciated it as much as I did. This morning, we would just like to talk to you quickly about our mission here at Catch the Fire, which is to be able to bless people and give them the Word of God. So we would love to invite you just to contribute financially to Catch the Fire Montreal. And you can do so in 4 different ways, which is the PushPay app. You can do so by e-transfer. check in the mail, or directly through our website. All right, so now we're on to Jerry's message, where he's going to be sharing a little something special with us. I hope everyone enjoys.
Hi, I'm Jerry Plunkett, pastor at Catch the Fire Montreal. I'm here at our church cafe, and boy, we're certainly going to look forward to welcoming you again here. And in the meantime, well, I want to thank you for welcoming us into your home. And I really want to help you to live happier. That's this series of messages that we're going to look at over the next weeks. And in this time of the COVID crisis, we could use a little more happiness, wouldn't you say? And in this time of self-isolation and social distancing, many people have turned to online courses to fill in some of their extra time. And one of the courses that is the most sought after right now is one that's offered by Yale University, The Science of Well-Being, which is a course on happiness. It was developed in 2018 when when so many students at Yale were showing signs of depression during their university session. Now, there was a course developed as well in 2006 at Harvard University that became the most popular course in the history of that institution, and it was a course entitled Positive Psychology. That course was also about how to be happy. That course also was developed because of the great need that was seen among the students of Harvard. 4 out of 5 Harvard students said that they lived an episode of depression during a university year. Now think of that. Yale University, Harvard University, we're talking about the most brilliant students with an amazing future before them. They're seated in front of these great professors. They are seated in these great facilities. And in spite of all that, they live these times of depression. 50 years ago, the average age that someone would have a first episode of depression was 29 or 30. Today, we're talking at 14 or 15 years of age for a first episode of depression. And you can eliminate depression from someone without necessarily that person becoming happy. It's a little bit like you can study the laws of gravity for centuries without ever really being able to fly. Well, let's change that. Let's learn how to fly. Let's learn how to be happy. So in this series of messages, we're going to look at some of the things that are offered in these university courses, often very good wisdom, great counsel, principles that we could say are, being able to understand basic life skills that help us think differently. We're going to look at some of those things. We're also going to look at some of the principles that God has given us, because He has a lot to say about being happy. There's a verse in the Bible that says, I know that there is nothing better for men than to be happy and to do good while they live. So let's start with a definition of happiness. If I were to say, okay, complete this sentence. Happiness is, what would you put there? Well, for Lucy, Charlie Brown's friend, happiness is hugging that warm puppy. Now for others, happiness is maybe listening to some good music. It might be a sense of accomplishment after completing an important task. Maybe it's eating a wonderful meal. One of our grandsons, he's not quite 4 years old yet, and he likes to eat. One evening a number of weeks ago, just as he was getting ready for bed, he went into the kitchen, put his arms around the fridge, gave the fridge a big hug and said, "Good night, sweet fridge." He likes to eat. That definitely makes him happy. So what is happiness? I think I'll say to begin with what happiness is not. Happiness is not things. Even though Gertrude Stein once said, whoever said money can't buy happiness simply didn't know where to go shopping. Now, you can be happy when you've received that package from Amazon that you've been waiting for, but you know that happiness isn't going to last. It's very fleeting, isn't it? And it's just false thinking when we have this idea that if I had a nicer car or a nicer house or a designer wardrobe, that I would be happy. No, happiness is not in things. And happiness is not success. Success does not bring happiness. And that is why we often see people who reach the summit of their career. They have reached the point in their professional lives where they have accomplished tremendous things. Their goals have been reached. They're at the top of their game. And in spite of that, many of them become very discouraged. Many can fall into depression, fall into drugs, start looking for another sexual partner, even take their own lives, because success does not bring happiness. You remember how the Polish astronomer Copernicus turned modern thinking toward a heliocentric view of our solar system. For centuries, people actually believed that the sun orbited the Earth. And Copernicus, in the middle of the 1600s, he said, no. This is what's happening in our solar system, is that the sun is at the center and the Earth is turning around the sun, orbiting the sun. And for so long, we have had this idea that success is at the middle of our universe, and happiness is attracted by the success and turns around success. It's like the success is giving out these warm rays of happiness, but the body of recent scientific work is showing the opposite. That being happy is what is truly at the center. And the happier we are, the more likely we are to attract success. And so it is success that orbits happiness and not the opposite. Now, we still have this thought, we're almost a slave to this thought, that if I could just be more successful, if I worked harder, if I gave more effort, then I would be more successful and I'd be happier. But that is not what all the recent scientific studies are showing, and we're going to look at that. So what is happiness? Well, happiness is an emotion, but it's to experience positive emotions. And positive emotions means that you have a positive perspective of the present and you've got a positive outlook for the future. Now, the principal motor of positive emotions is what drives the happiness in our lives. It's to live these positive emotions. And it's also a state of mind. It's a state of being. Living happy means living happiness. It's a state of being. It means that when you wake up in the morning, you're happy. And that's before your first coffee. You go to sleep at night, you're happy. Now, I'm not saying that we're never sad or we're never disappointed or we never have worry. No, but what dominates our state of being is happiness. Happiness is emotion. It's to live positive emotions. Happiness is a state of mind, and happiness is a choice. You know that comedian, great comedian, star of American cinema way back when, Groucho Marx? Groucho said this: I, not events, have the power to make me happy or unhappy today. I can choose which it shall be. Yesterday is dead, tomorrow hasn't arrived yet. I have just one day, today, and I am going to be happy in it. Being happy is a positive emotion, but it's an emotion that I can choose, that I can maintain, and that I can increase. And the positive effects of these positive emotions are so varied. 200 independent scientific studies that represented 275,000 participants showed that being happy leads to a positive impact in so many areas of our lives, whether it be our marriage, whether it be our friendships, our social involvements, our creativity levels, our whether that's at work or at play, how our careers are affected. And one of the areas that is so positively affected is our mental well-being, our mental health. Now we know that having a robust immune system can help us to ward off disease and fight off infection, but it's like we have an immune system for our soul as well. And the more we're able to live happy, the more we are able to ward off those things that come against our psyche, that come against our soul, whether it be anxiety or depression or gloom and doom and pessimism and even panic. These things, you know, it says in the Bible that a happy heart is like a good medicine. And the verse goes on to say that a broken spirit or a crushed spirit drains your strength. Positive emotions help the production of dopamine and serotonin in our brains. And dopamine, we know, is responsible for feelings of pleasure, that sense of happiness inside. Serotonin is responsible for feelings of peace and calm. And when there is a healthy and balanced production of dopamine and serotonin on a continual basis in our lives, it is an antidote to many of the problems that we can live in our souls. And I would say it's even an antidote to physical and stress that we're living. I like to say this about stress as well, that stress never comes from the outside. Stress is always our reaction to outside influences. Stress comes from within. It's like if I were to say, oh, my boss, he's just putting so much pressure on me to get this report done by Friday. My boss is stressing me out. No, it's not your boss that's stressing you. Your boss is putting pressure, but your reaction to what your boss is asking is stress that is coming from within you. It's kind of like that Gaviscon anti-acid commercial, right? Where the heartburn starts to come up, and with Gaviscon you can push it back down. Well, when we live happy, we learn how to push back down the stress that comes as our reaction to things around us. Now, so many of the advantages of happiness have been shown by recent scientific studies. In one recent study, adults were put into 3 groups. And in one group, they were asked to think of a current event. In another group, they were asked to think about this political question. And in the third group, they were asked to think about the happiest day of their lives. And they repeated this experiment over and over with different groups, and each time the group that had taken a moment to think of the happiest day in their lives then performed better on a standard mathematics test that was given to the three groups. Emotions that are positive, when we're talking about our work, our career, they help us to be more productive. We have better sales. We're better suited to leadership positions. We're less inclined to be on sick leave. We're less inclined to live burnout. And these positive emotions help to increase the number of possibilities that we see, how we can analyze things. We can be more intuitive. We're more open to new ideas. And this is what the science is showing. And it starts very early in life. One study took preschool children, 4-year-olds, and put them in two groups. And they were asked to assemble these blocks as fast as you can. And in one of the groups, they were also asked, think of something that makes you happy before you do it. Now, a 4-year-old doesn't have a huge inventory of notable accomplishments in life, do they? They don't have a huge body of work to draw from about what makes them happy, and not a whole lot of experiences. So maybe for many of them, they thought of their teddy bear. But it was enough, because invariably, as they repeated this experiment, the group that took the time to think about what makes them happy at 4 years old assembled their blocks quicker and with less mistakes. So these positive emotions are going to have an impact in so many areas of your lives. And one of them for sure is the impact it has on your relationships, whether that be with your wife or your husband, your children, your friends, your colleagues at work. There will be a positive impact. We read it earlier. I know that there is nothing better for a man than to be happy and to do good. And you can live happy. You can be happier. You can become more optimistic. You can teach and train your mind to be less full of negative thoughts and less stressed out. You can train your mind to see positive advantages that are all around you. You can if you want. If you want to put the effort. And this is what I want to help you to do over these next weeks, is to look at these principles, put them into practice, and live happy. Now, this is a question that often comes. Does God really want me to be happy? Because there's an idea that floats around out there that God's not really interested in whether I'm happy. Well, nothing could be further than the truth. God is very interested in your happiness. And, I think of the verse that says, happy are the people whose God is the Lord. They're happy. And God wants us to be happy. Jesus Christ had so much to say about being happy. And we're going to look at those things and many other great principles that are going to help us to live happy. Now for this week, I'm going to ask you to take a couple of minutes to reflect and ask yourself these two questions. The first one, what impact would having positive, happy emotions have on my quality of life? How would my quality of life change? And then another question that would be similar, ask yourself this question. If I was living happier, how would that translate to more success in my life? How would living happy attract more success in my life? And there's one other thing I'd like you to do. I'd like you to pray. And I'd like you to say, God, if you want me to be happy, then I want to open my heart to you so that you can teach me how. Would you do that? And I pray that God will bless you. And I pray that you would live the happiest life possible. And we'll see you next week.
Wow, that was great. Thank you so much, Jerry. And thank you so much for joining us this week. If you did enjoy the message, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel or join us on our Facebook page. And lastly, I would just like to say, if you do have any prayer requests, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can do so by email at montreal@catchthefire.com. All right, well, have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you next Sunday. Bye.